Hi, I'm Allison Miller, the CEO and founder of Happy Camper Live, and we are here at the Raising a Happy Start again. Hi, I'm Allison Miller, the CEO and founder of Happy Camper Live, and we are here at the Raising a Happy Camper podcast with Kitti Andrews from declutterthebrain.com. Kitti, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a real pleasure, Allison.
I'm super excited. I would love for you to tell our audience a little bit more about yourself and just the incredible background that you have.
Well, as you said, I am CEO of declutterthebrain.com, and my specialty is helping entrepreneurs to organize their space and streamline their thoughts so that they can focus on being more profitably productive. And what excited me about doing your podcast is that exact concept can easily apply to people of all ages, in our case, children. And in fact, it could even be more important to be applied to children. You may have given me an entire different market here. It's very, very exciting. I've been coaching for 5 years. I do it virtually. I do not go into people's homes simply because this way they don't, well, number one, I can do it anywhere in the world. And it's a less intrusive, more focused way to really not feel ashamed of somebody coming in your house to get you organized. You end up doing it yourself, which is how you learn. And my one system, and we'll talk about that, is designed to keep you decluttered for life, which, when we're talking about children, you cannot start too early. Wouldn't you agree?
I totally agree. It's a way of living. And if we can start with our kids in a manner that really supports them, especially in the world they're growing up with so many distractions all the time, being able to support that from the very beginning. And I'm not sure exactly when that beginning is. We're going to try to figure that out today, right? When do we start decluttering? I guess the thing is, maybe for the kids, we talk about how do you not clutter, right? How can we keep their space free from clutter so that we're not unpacking and decluttering all of that as adults? Maybe that's the approach, right?
Yes. Would you like to start there?
Because I think it's a great place to start.
I have a couple of schools of thought with that. Now, it depends on when you're starting. Now, military families, for example, because they move on the average, every 2-3 years, they pretty much stay decluttered for a reason, so that they don't have to go through all of that nonsense when they've gotten their walking papers to move on. I happen to live in a military base in Canada, and I've worked with some of these families and walked in and said, "Why do you need me?" Well, we just need moral support to get through yet another move, and we don't have very much clutter. If you give us some guidance, help us with some cleaning if necessary, kind of thing. So those children, they have I wouldn't say a minimum of toys or books, but they have the toys and books that they need and they want. And if well-meaning grandparents want to shower them with gifts, mom and dad step in and say, okay, but it's the one in, one out kind of way of doing thing, where, all right, we can bring in a couple of things, but some of the old things have to go. Now, if you're not in the military, then the tendency so we'll just talk about North America right now, is to overconsume. We are just statistics show that I think we use 20% of what we own, kind of thing. And you buy so you can have. And the children kind of grow up with that mentality. And if you can start to say, no, maybe this isn't a good path to have. Number one, we'll save some money. Number two, the kid will appreciate what they have, because the more you have, the less you appreciate it. Yeah. It's like if
Yeah.
you're a starving university student, you appreciate that craft dinner kind of thing. I went off
It's
course.
interesting because I interviewed this amazing family that have been traveling all over the US in a schoolie, which is a school bus that's been redesigned as an RV camper. And this young boy, I think he's around 10 or 11. He talked about what it was like to leave his house with all of these things and really select the things he wanted for this journey, and how intentional he's been about, because of the space, about the things that he's collected along the way. And those things have been like visiting national forests, but for him, it's a pin or a stamp or things like that that have just been like these memories along the way. And I said to him, is there anything that you've missed? And he's like, no, not really. Like, I have everything I need. And I've learned that I don't need all that stuff. So I definitely think that kids also truly appreciate the freedom and the stresslessness of not having so many things around them that, like you said, they use 20% of what it is. So it's very interesting.
Yes, agreed. And you mentioned distractions. Now, if the child tends to, let's fast forward to the age of 7 or
Okay.
8 or 9. Those clients came to me in COVID when one child was 7, the other was, I think, 11 or 12. So they've accumulated a fair bit, and distraction was a bit of a concern for me and for the parents. But when you're thinking about learning, you need as few distractions as possible. And if that child happens to be one of the 5% of the population that's ADHD, they need as much calm, as few distractions as possible. And being full-blown ADHD myself, I know only too well whereof I speak, so I have to stay decluttered. And when I think about a child that is trying to learn in a chaotic situation, I think, oh, let's try to nip that in the bud, because again, when they get closer to college age, and I think you can speak into this, that well, number one, they don't want to be voted the one with the messiest dorm room. Number two, you're investing that money in college education. You want to get the best bang for your buck. You want the kid to get a good job after, or be a successful entrepreneur, what have you. And it starts with as few distractions as possible. And people don't realize how much they're distracted. We don't realize how much we're distracted by technology.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. I'd love to go back to 7, 8, 9, because it's an interesting age. It's the age when a lot of parents will send their kids off to summer camp, whether it's for a week, 3 weeks, 7 weeks, whatever that amount of time is. And the process of packing for a parent sending their kids off to camp is overwhelming. And I think what sort of comes to sort of kicks in is this, they're not there and they think their child needs everything, anything possible that they can think of. And so they pack, and the camps provide a list and say stick to the list, but then the parents are shoving in the 3 extra shirts and the 5 extra socks and 15 bottles of sunscreen and all of this stuff. And then the kid arrives. And what I tell parents is it's your child's responsibility to manage all of their stuff when they're at camp. So when you overwhelm them with so many items and things for them to sort through, then they are in a position of having to manage that themselves, which can be super, super overwhelming. Hold on 1 second. There's a notification coming in. That's Austin, I'm sorry, but there's something coming in. I just need to get this to stop. Okay, I apologize for that. So I'll pick up where what I was saying. So parents think they're supplying their kids with all of these things that they need, but what they're doing is actually like loading all the stress on them in terms of keeping it organized and, like you said, feeling, free from having to, free from distractions, right?
Yes, yes, definitely less is more. And I was getting a really good visual of that child having to keep track of the extra 5 pairs of socks. And maybe he's a generous kind of fella, and his buddy got mud all over his socks. So, oh, you can have mine. I've got lots. Mom packed lots, right? Things like that, and then maybe trying to get the socks back. I don't know, but you're absolutely right. You only need so much, and God bless the parents that think that they're doing a good thing by packing extras. And if the camp is giving you a list, thinking back to my camp days and the list that gave my mother, yeah, they know what they're talking about. They are trained professionals to tell you what you need and what you don't need. So you make an excellent point there.
Yeah, and at camp, and I think in a lot of military families and other, organized and structured families, there are responsibilities that kids have to clean their room and to participate in family chores. And when you have more things around and put that on the child to keep your room clean and organized, or in a cabin with kids, keep your space organized, it can be really overwhelming for the average kid, let alone a child who is neurodivergent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm remembering I was one camp I attended. It was just a week-long camp, and it was a dorm kind of setting. So one big room with a whole lot of cots, and you didn't have room to put away everything. I think there was like a small nightstand. There wasn't that much room. So you got to be careful to not overload, overpack. Yeah.
Yeah, so as we move to maybe sort of the preteen, middle school ages, where do you see those challenges in terms of kids and parents, how we can better support them?
Well, especially now in the age of technology, where kids are they're pretty much born with a computer and a tablet in their mouth, whereas, oh golly, even 20 years ago, it wasn't. It was a different world. So you have enough challenges with distraction as it is with technology, and trying to police that. I can't even imagine as a parent how that is, but you do have control over the physical things. And if you can perhaps limit, I don't know how much kids get, I'm sure things haven't changed that much where I sound old, but where children are concerned about fashion and fitting in. But still, you really only need 5 changes of clothes per week for school. You really, I think, only need so many things. And do the kids really want as much as what is in their closets? Do the kids really want as much as they have? And has anybody really consulted them? Oh, we'll just buy it and you'll like it and it's all good. And you as a parent, I am not. So you would be the expert in this. Is there enough dialogue happening about this? And then we can get into. I'd love to share my my one system with you, but I'd really be interested in what you have to say about that as a parent of children and accumulation.
Well, what I find interesting about this conversation is that I have a child who, when he was younger, would never want to give up anything. So he accumulated, anything from a little birthday party to a trip to a carnival to trinkets to like literally wouldn't throw anything out. And if I wanted to like get rid of any clutter, I had to do it when he wasn't around. And miraculously, he would like notice the like little tiny thing from the carnival or the birthday party, like that wasn't in the drawer anymore. So I was definitely, at the effect of all of that, being somebody who thought, wow, there's like all of these things around, but he didn't have that ability to let go. So I'm curious about that. I agree with you about what it is that they need. And my children went to uniform schools, so it made it super easy, right? You need these shorts, you need these, right? The best, right? No choices, orange or white, whatever you want today. That definitely helps. But I did have this, struggle with letting go. So I'm curious about that.
And a lot of what I do is asking people their why. Why are you keeping something? Now we're talking about adults here, but the same applies to children. Why are you keeping this and why are you not willing to let it go, or even talk about it? For example, one of these clients that from the COVID days, she was 11 at the time. She is now 15. I'm still working with the parent. Most of my clients are we keep finding new things to declutter. And that mid-teenager now still will not let that Barbie dollhouse go. It's sitting in the basement. She's had it since she was 4 or 5 years old, and she will not let it go. Negotiations are in progress, but they are slow. Why is it fulfilling a need? Is it fulfilling an emotional shortage? I don't know. And you could write a whole book on that. But again, discussion being the operative word. And sometimes kids they say, I don't know, I just like it and I want it.
Well, I did find, Kitti, that at some point when I went to the 3, you can tell me about your system because I really, really want to hear and share that. But I went to 3 piles, and there was the keep, the giveaway, and the throwaway. And when I created the giveaway and he knew who was going to receive the items from him, he was able to release them so much easier than when he had this thought that it was like either he keeps it or it gets thrown out. And I think that creation of this gift and passing it on and it not disappearing or just vanishing, going away, into the abyss was like a big thing for him when it was at some point he held some meaning to it. So I share that, and I would love for you to jump in because I really can't wait to hear about the system. So I'm sharing mine, but you're the expert, so bring it on.
Well, it's in a different realm, and thank you for that. But you're an expert with what you're doing, and I really want to tie this into your topic of camp. However, my expertise is in decluttering what you have so that you can clear your space in your brain. And there may be some parents who are listening who are just surveying their abode and going, OMG, where do I start? It's just too much. And of course, school has just started now. So it's and so there's all that chaos around. And I wanted to give your listeners just a few hints so that if they're feeling overwhelmed with their clutter and they don't want to go into Christmas season, I know. Yeah, I know. Christmas season with all of this stuff. Still, where do they start? And this is where my one system comes in. It's really, really simple. One room at a time, one area of that room at a time, one thing at a time, because unless you have a better magic wand than I have, it didn't accumulate overnight. It is not going to go away overnight, unless you say back up the truck, boys. That beep, 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 right? But one room at a time. What do I mean by that? Don't start with the biggest room in the house. Let's assume that you are only focusing on your child's bedroom, for example. Okay, so there's your one room at a time. And then and I've seen some bedrooms that are hoarderville, and these are just kids because they haven't been taught, they have no place to put anything, it's actually quite sad. But it doesn't need to be that bad. One area of that room at a time, because sometimes even making a decision as to where do I start,
right,
is the difficult one. Now, depending on the age of your child, what age would you like to go with? 7 years old?
yeah, 7, 8.
So we try with 7,
Yeah.
because I actually did the two who came to me through COVID. I didn't work with those children specifically, only the parents. But one of their predecessors, the mother, she said, I really want to get Mary to tidy her room. Her sister is perfect, this one is not, and I don't know what to do. So, and again, factor in, I have no experience with children, but what did we do? We just made it as simple as possible. Okay, we're going to do your room. And you can do it one of two ways. You can either start in one area, say, for example, a 2x2 area next to the bed, and just focus on that until you get it done. Or what worked very well with this 7-year-old was to do it by category. Because don't forget, they have an even shorter, the attention of an adult is like a goldfish, 6 seconds kind of thing. Well, imagine it from a little one's point of view, right? They can last for sometimes for about 45 minutes. But if you make it a category, okay, we are going to focus on books for the next little while, and we're going to get them done. That gives them something to wrap their heads around.
Right.
And they get into it, and at first they're resistant, but after a few minutes, they start to say, I didn't even really like this book anyway, kind of thing. And it starts to go easier, and it's easy on them. And you made an excellent point about your son, was it, who when they realize, okay, it is going to X person. Well, maybe you don't know X person, so maybe it's to the less fortunate kids or something like that. But when you really, and I think this is important, when you explain to them, rather than saying, okay, we're going to clean up this mess of a room, it's horrible. No, negative messages, right? But if you say, we're going to sleep better if in a tidy room, and you can invite your friends, and you can play, because you'll be able to see and you have space to play. Explain the benefits, just like you would in any sales conversation. Explain the benefits, and trust me, it works. And if you need to bribe with a popsicle after, who am I to judge, right?
Yeah, I get that. Do a lot of that again.
Yeah. So you've got your either one area or one category. And then just remember one thing at a time.
Mm-hmm.
And stop when you start to see some overwhelm. When those eyes start to glaze over, a child's or your own, right. Stop. Keep your sessions short to avoid decision fatigue, because decision fatigue is a thing. It's a huge thing. And if you can avoid that, then it doesn't seem like the worst chore in the world that they ever did. Mom, don't ever make me do that again. Now that could be a good reason not to accumulate clutter. I don't want to go through that again. But just keep it as simple as possible. And here's the beauty of it. You want to hear?
Sure.
Here is the beauty. Quickly is that as they're doing it themselves, not you doing it for them, but themselves, then they learn. It starts to fire off some of the synapses in the brain that say, the next time they're in the store, I didn't even really like that book and I gave it away. So I don't really want that book that I'm looking at either. It trains you to avoid the clutter so that by the time you get to college, you've trained yourself. No, I don't really need it. They're like the little boy on the school bus. Perfect example.
Right.
Yeah.
I find the system to be super simple, but really helpful. And I remember my daughter has ADHD, so I'm also challenged with, parenting in that regard. She's much older now, but one of the things that really helped her was to sort by color. And at the end, to be able to see everything in an organized way, like in a closet, where I might say, put your pants here and your shirts here, or whatever it is. When she had it all sorted by color, you could see the relief that she had, and the stress that came off her. And that was her idea. Like it wouldn't have occurred to me how to have her begin to organize it in the system that works for her. And I didn't learn that until she was like in her 20s. So I do feel like to talk to your child and like, where do you want to start? Like where, let's pick something can be super helpful. And we do that at camp. In camp, we have sports equipment, we have shoes, we have all of the things for, your clothing. And then we have all we call it junk that goes to camp with you, which are like fans and, books and stickers and all that like stuff to keep you busy. And that tends to get super messy. But that's where the kids are, like in their boxes of we call it bunk junk. So we always like to, I know it's just junk, and there you are, and you can't throw anything out. But asking them, where do you want to start, is really helpful because they will say what is overwhelming them the most. Well, I want to start here because all this stuff is falling all over my bed every night when I try to put my flashlight down, okay, well, let's start there because that will have the biggest impact. So I definitely think this system sounds, just perfect, and narrowing it down to a space like a camp, like maybe it's your cubby or your athletic bin. For you in a house, it could be your room, or, maybe they have in their pantry, they have special snacks for their kids that, those tend to get like disorganized and overwhelming. And then you're trying to find a snack and your kid's like, I don't like that, but I don't eat that. And then you're like, well, we have all these snacks, right? Like, but I can't see it all. So coming up with those systems. I wonder too, like, from a storage perspective, are there like simple, easy ways that you don't have to kind of, I can see that, sometimes I'll just use a shoe box and stuff like that. Like, you don't have to like lean into like a whole storage system in order to like put your system into place, right?
What this child really liked, and what these other two, we'll call them COVID parents, really liked, and adults like them too. But especially helpful for children, especially quite young children, and I've read some research on this, is even as early as the age of 3, is anything that is clear.
Yeah.
Clear plastic, labeled, and say, for example, those I'm looking at 2 or 3 of them now. I live for drawers that they're plastic,
Stackable.
and there's a set of drawers.
Stackable drawers.
Absolutely brilliant. My entire tool set is in one of them. All of my crafts is in another. And you just label it for a child, stuffed animals. Oh, okay. I can put my stuffed animal in the drawer, and mommy's going to go, yay! And he gets that rush of dopamine because he put it in the right place, and that sense of self-esteem that yes, he can, but making it as easy as possible makes it has that benefit. And at a moment's glance, as opposed to shoe boxes, which I think are wonderful for corralling things. However, you want a more permanent solution. You want something that is going to last through. What if you have to move all of a sudden? All right. Well, this way, it's labeled. It goes in the kid's room. Kid knows where to find his stuffed animals or his his socks or whatever it is. So I love clear solutions of any kind and open things. Now, this is going to sound a little bit weird, but imagine, if you will, and I know there are commercial things like this. Imagine, if you will, a bunch of milk crates stacked up. Okay. And the child can see immediately the books and what category the books are in. For example, making things easy to see. It's not good from a feng shui point of view, but we're not talking about feng shui today. We're talking about ease and organization and flow. And the fewer decisions or moments, and I mean milliseconds, of frustration spent. Where are my books? Where's my Where is my ... That wastes mental energy.
For both the parent and the kid. I think that's just the whole thing. Like, where is my this? Where is my that? And it's not just kids that are neurodivergent. It's everybody. Like, I need the number 2 pencil for class today. Well, if it was in the drawer where all of our school supplies are, you'd find it easily. Or, whatever the book is, and this is where your homework goes. And this is the snack drawer of the snacks you like. So if we're going to grab something and go, we know we can just grab something in that drawer. Maybe the other sibling has their snack drawer, so I do think there's ways to really lean in and organize it. And funny you said milk crates, because you probably just heard me going milk crates, because I look for very affordable solutions for people. And when I thought shoebox, you can also take the cover off the shoebox. You can cut one side off and you can have it just like you can slip the things in. You can take that pallets. There are a lot of stores, like grocery stores, that will give you a milk crate or a pallet, wood pallets if you have somebody home that's handy. So, these days there's, the stores for everything. And, so don't feel like you can, I'm just saying this to parents, don't feel like you can't do this without, spending a lot of money on all kinds of containers. You can figure this out yourself. And even if it means taking a space that exists and just declaring that space, that's where we keep this. If you can't have all of these storage containers, I feel like that is okay too. So yeah, I'm really excited. I feel that, it's shedding so much light on how much we do overwhelm our children and how we really can declutter their brains and really avoid a lot of unnecessary conflict that parents and kids have on a daily basis over just, like we said, finding things or, just creating a space that's livable for everyone. So, Kitti, this has been awesome. I'm so glad we connected. I think we could probably talk for another hour. So maybe after you give this some thought, and let's get back together, maybe if you're willing, and talk some more, because there's so much value in this conversation,
Thank you. Do we have 40 seconds for me to just make one last point?
Absolutely. I was actually going to ask you right now, is there anything else you'd like to say? Also share, please, with our audience how they can get in touch with you, how they can learn from you. I just would love to hear more. And we have more than 40 seconds. You have as long as you want, Kitti. You can hang with me all day if you want.
I've lost track of time, and we're in contact, so I can't even see the time. Which first? Okay, the thing that popped into my head is I look at things from the listener's point of view, and I can imagine some people are saying there's no way. There's absolutely no way. I don't know where to start. And my answer to that is absolutely. I understand your entire place may just be have that much accumulation. It happens to everybody. So the first thing is to address anything that's negative in your head, like, why can't I keep my place clean? Anything like that. Just cut yourself some slack and start with, as we said earlier, the smallest room. Pick one area. And you know what? If you can't even tackle the kids' room right now, it's just too much. Pick a kitchen drawer, part of a kitchen drawer, and get that rush of dopamine by doing that half of a kitchen drawer to make yourself feel good, because so many people are overwhelmed with, and it's society that says, thou shalt buy, thou shalt buy, and we are the victims of that, so to speak. I use victims loosely. Anyway, cut yourself some slack with that. Get that under your belt. Get your kids to help you with that very, very small area. Then tackle something a little bit bigger. And like I've said before, it did not accumulate overnight. It will not go away overnight. I just moved. I know. I'm still unpacking 4 months later, and probably will be for a while. And do I say, oh, I should be able to have this all done? Well, yeah, maybe you should in a perfect world, but this isn't perfect. You've got PTA meetings, you've got the kids out to school, you've got your husband that's working, you've got you that's working, you've got groceries, you've got all of these things. So just do bits at a time, and trust me, you're going to be amazed in about 3 months. Just give yourself some time. So that is the end. That's what I have to say for that. I really hope that helps, because sometimes we can get so in our heads about, why can't I should be able to, and that is something I really, really wanted to stress to parents. Go easy on yourself.
And I think too, go easy on your kids. Like that same exact philosophy applies to the children. Don't expect too much. Pick one thing for them, make them feel successful. And, then maybe, in a few days or next week, you pick another area. If a child's at camp and you're a counselor or a camp director, somebody who's really struggling with a camper in the bunk, set the expectations as reasonable. I always tell parents that, like, we need to reset our expectations these days. And I hate to sort of say, like, oh, well, these kids get more slack, but I agree, there's just more stuff. And, so I don't have the same expectations on my kids at camp than parents did, that were on me when I was a kid, that the bed had to be made a certain way and you could flip a coin on it and it bounced off. We have to meet our kids where they are. So if a camper is really struggling, just, for their cleanup, sometimes Kitti in camps, everybody gets scored and there's like a cabin point for cleanup. And if you have a camper that can't meet those expectations, you can set a specific expectation for that camper that, let's say, the drawers next to them are the ones that get, put into the score and not everything. So the camper doesn't feel responsible or blamed for what's going on for everybody else.
Yes. There's social pressures on top of everything else that the child is going through. Agreed. That's actually a really good, that's a really good approach. It just made me think of some memories. And you asked how to connect.
Yes.
The website is declutterthebrain.com. If they don't reach it, it's because it is under reconstruction right now, just, freshening, but certainly on Facebook at Kitti Andrews, on YouTube. I have now done, I believe, 885 videos in the last 2.5 years, since April 2nd, 2020, on all parts, all facets of decluttering. So that's on YouTube, Declutter the Brain. Facebook, LinkedIn are my two main other channels. And if they go to, I believe I've given you the link, declutterthebrain.com/declutter. There is my 7 easy steps to conquer your physical and mental clutter. And it's meant to be followed step by step with the idea of keeping you decluttered for life and loving the home that you're in.
I love that. Well, thank you so much for being with us. I think I want to talk about the mental side next time. We kind of were very physical, and the whole mental side would be really interesting. As an entrepreneur myself, I can really relate to feeling overwhelmed sometimes by, not just the space, but all the other things that get thrown at us and how to keep organized. So I'm going to watch a whole set of those 800 videos. I'm like, you made 800 videos? That's amazing. So I can't wait to go. It's a whole library of how to declutter. So it really is quite astounding when you think about it. So Kitti, thank you for being here on the Happy Camper Live, Raising a Happy Camper podcast. I think you've created some happy moments for our parents, or potential happier moments for our parents, just from being here. So thank you again. And I hope to see you again soon.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Take a moment to shine.